Hello to you, and welcome to Sleepy Tales by John. I'm very happy that you found your way to this quiet place, where sleep stories are crafted just for you. Maybe today has been a long day, with many thoughts you haven't yet had the chance to set down. Or maybe you're the kind of person who only truly falls asleep when your mind is allowed to drift into distant spaces, where silent planets keep turning and lonely moons wander like boats without a harbor. Whatever reason has brought you here, tonight's journey is just for you. A journey where you don't have to do anything at all except rest. Now try breathing in very slowly and then exhaling very softly. Feel your body begin to soften, to grow lighter, as if gravity were gently loosening the hand that has been holding you all day. And as everything becomes more gentle, you can imagine yourself floating on a soft layer of air, getting ready to slip into a night of drifting through the solar system. Not a hurried flight, but a slow journey, winding through spirals of cosmic dust, past the warm golden light near the sun, and out to the cold, distant places, where blue winds still blow and no one ever hears them. Here we don't tell stories with numbers. Tonight, I'll tell you a story using solar storms, tilted planets, diamond rains no one has ever witnessed, and moons that glow in the dark. Every world has its own small secret, strange, beautiful, and gentle enough to guide your mind from wakefulness into peace. And if this gentle journey helps you breathe a little easier, or helps you close a long day with a sense of calm, you can softly tap like and subscribe. That simple act will help other tired souls find this place too, little by little. Now then, if you're ready, let's begin. All right, now it's time for the small, invisible craft to take us into tonight's journey. There is no sound of engines, no rattling metal, only the feeling that everything around you is sliding by like a soft breeze. The sky above you grows dark, but not into a heavy, suffocating dark. It's a gentle darkness, like a black blanket, sprinkled with tiny points of light. And then, our journey opens up, smooth, rounded, and quiet, like a dream that is slowly beginning. The craft doesn't head first into the brightest places, but carries us outward, very far outward, to the place where sunlight is nothing more than a fragile thread, no longer warm enough to heat, only bright enough to draw a faint, pale line across a turquoise background of darkness. We are arriving at the outer edge of the solar system, a place where extremes exist, but exist in absolute silence. Look off into the distance, where Neptune is drifting, the eighth planet, the coldest world, the farthest, the most mysterious. A place where winds can exceed the speed of sound. The wind here is unlike any wind you have ever known. It doesn't howl, doesn't scream, doesn't rush through your hair. From where we're standing, it whirls in silence, like streams of deep blue ink swirling inside a crystal glass, spinning so fast that no human ear could ever hear it. Strangely, that very silence makes Neptune seem gentler, like a giant sighing softly, in the dark, so as not to wake anyone. Leaving Neptune behind, the craft gently shifts its course, carrying you past a turquoise world, Uranus. If Neptune is the realm of silent spirals, then Uranus is the world of shimmering secrets. Deep beneath that pale blue atmosphere, the pressure is so great that carbon is squeezed into tiny diamonds. Imagine it. Countless tiny diamonds falling through the clear blue gas, light as mist, shining like streetlights in the fog. A shower of diamonds that no one on Earth can ever see. It happens quietly, invisibly, like a miracle the universe has chosen to keep for itself. The craft moves again. Night in space has no sound, only a steady, drifting rhythm, like your breathing when you begin to sink into sleep. This time, we visit a more familiar world, Mars. But not to look at the orange-red pictures you've already seen. Look closer, much closer. In one place, stretching longer than a continent, lies Valles Marineris, a canyon so vast it's like a giant crack on the skin of an ancient planet, a crack that tells of a geological past once so intense it could tear the surface apart. But now it is all asleep. No sound rises from the canyon floor. No dust storm roars. There is only stillness, so deep and so wide that you instinctively want to breathe more slowly, as if you're afraid of disturbing something that is dreaming. And then, Venus. Let the craft bring you close, but not too close. Venus is the world of might have been, of hopes that faded when it had no magnetic shield to protect itself. Long ago, Venus might have been blue, might have had oceans, might have been Earth's twin sister, but without an invisible armor to block radiation, Venus was stripped and scorched by the sun, turning into a gigantic furnace beneath a thick, yellow, suffocating cloud layer. And strangely, when we look at it from afar, that entire world appears very peaceful, like a golden sphere wrapped in mist, utterly silent, hiding all its chaos beneath. Like a beautiful golden candle you can only see through frosted glass. The craft continues to drift, light as a leaf floating in the wind. And throughout this journey, you do not need to do anything. No piloting, no straining your eyes, no effort to understand any numbers. All you need to do is stand beside me in silence. Watch the worlds glide past. Each world is telling its own story, not with words or sounds, but with immense motions unfolding so slowly that time itself seems to fall asleep. If you like, imagine yourself standing on the surface of each planet, at a safe distance, completely safe. You see Neptune bathed in swirling deep blue light. You stand on the upper layers of Uranus's atmosphere and watch diamond rain fall like shining dust. You see Mars as an ancient book opened before your eyes. And you see Venus as a golden mystery sealed away by time. No sound, no wind on your face, no pressure touching you, only you and the vast stillness of enormous processes playing out over millions of years. Let us stand here a little longer. In the silence of these extreme worlds, for a few moments you realize, even the harshest places in the universe have their own kind of beauty. A beauty born of absolute stillness. All right, now it's time for me to bring you back to the green home, the place where gentle, tender processes have made it possible for life to bloom. As we stand quietly before these extreme worlds at the edge of the solar system, where deep blue winds swirl in silence, where tiny diamonds fall like invisible dust, where the canyon on Mars is so long that even time seems to pause for a moment to look, and where Venus wears its mysterious golden cloak, you may feel something very soft. Beauty doesn't only live in what is familiar. It also lives in what is distant, harsh, and silent. And from that distance, our craft begins to turn back, soft as a breath, returning to the most familiar place of all, the one and only world in this whole journey you have actually walked upon. Earth. You can imagine the craft slowly pulling away from that far, cold region, then drifting inward, toward where the light grows warmer, more golden, and closer. The darkness thins and appears before you very slowly, a blue speck, so small it looks like a droplet of water hanging in space. But with each passing second, that blue speck grows a little larger, a little brighter, until you realize this is your home. Earth, a slow-turning blue marble against the black backdrop of the universe, is softer than any planet we've just visited. Not stormy deep blue like Neptune, not cold turquoise like Uranus, not red and scarred like Mars, and not fiercely golden like Venus. Earth has a kind of light no other planet has, the light of life. Let the craft carry you into orbit, close enough to see clearly, far enough to stay apart from the noise of humanity. From here, the planet's surface looks like a living painting, constantly redrawing itself every day. Let's begin at the thin outlines of the continents. The tectonic plates are moving, very slowly, so slowly that it takes millions of years for a noticeable change. But it is precisely this motion that has raised mountains from the deep, lowered the ocean floors, and most importantly, recycled CO2, keeping the climate stable over hundreds of millions of years. Those plates are the planet's long heartbeat, soft and steady, like the deep breaths you're taking right now. Look deep into Earth's core, and you'll see an ocean of molten metal swirling gently. A motion no one can hear, but everyone can feel. It is this metallic ocean that generates the magnetic field wrapping Earth like an invisible blanket, shielding the planet from violent solar storms. Without it, the molecules in our atmosphere would have been swept away like dust. Life would never have had the chance to step out onto the stage. That magnetic field is a gentle embrace the planet offers itself, and you. Now look at Earth's surface. Here, water exists in 3 states: ice, liquid, and vapor. It sounds ordinary, but in the vast solar system, this is incredibly rare. Thanks to liquid water, oceans have formed. Thanks to water vapor, clouds and rain exist. Thanks to ice, heat is stored and distributed in just the right way. Water is the planet's meditation circle, circulating, rising, falling, changing form but never disappearing. Just like human emotions, constantly shifting, yet still the same essence. Earth also tilts a little, 23.5 degrees, just enough to create the cycle of 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Cycles that feel very human, very familiar, very gentle. Imagine golden leaves falling in autumn in one place, while bright summer sunshine glows in another. The whole planet moves like a living body, changing moods as it orbits the sun. And look up, right beside Earth, the moon. A companion unusually large for such a small, rocky planet. The moon pulls the water up and down, creating tides that rise and fall, like the great breaths of the ocean. It also keeps Earth's axis stable, like a light hand resting on your shoulder when you begin to sway. Without the moon, life might not have evolved in the way it has. Now I'd like you to do something very small. Breathe in very gently and exhale even more slowly. In that one breath, you are feeling your own small cycle, a cycle that lasts only a few seconds. Meanwhile, the things happening on Earth, plate tectonics, the magnetic field, the water cycle, the seasons, the tides, are much larger cycles, lasting thousands or millions of years. Yet both those great cycles and your tiny one are unfolding at the same time, blending together, so that you can lie here tonight, safe on this planet. If you listen very carefully, you'll realize Earth is not still. It is always moving, always changing, always working to keep you and all other life going. And strangely, when you look at it from space, all of that motion appears very gentle. Once you've felt that, once you've sensed the softness of the planet that is holding you up, we can go even deeper to the place where light truly begins. I'm talking about the sun. Without that light, the water cycle wouldn't flow, the winds wouldn't move, the forests wouldn't grow, and the oceans wouldn't breathe. Life would never have had the chance to open its eyes. And so, as Earth slowly drifts past beneath our feet, the craft begins to turn gently toward the center, where light becomes the source of every story we know. Imagine that the entire solar system is shrunk down just enough for you to place it in the palm of your hand. 8 planets, hundreds of moons, billions of fragments of rock and dust, all orbiting a single object, a soft golden sphere. The sun, when seen up close, is no longer a blinding beam of light that makes you squint, but feels more like a warm breath, It gently swells and contracts as if it too were breathing along with you. Every second, at the center of that sphere, a miracle is happening. Millions of tons of matter are being transformed into energy. And that energy radiates outward as light, traveling through space, crossing unimaginable distances, to touch the earth, your skin, the leaves of trees, the warmth of morning. But to the sun, all of that is just a blink, a soft pulse. It has been doing this for 4.6 billion years and will continue for billions more. The sun is in no hurry. It consumes itself slowly, gently, like an oil lamp that has chosen to burn steadily instead of flaring up in one bright burst. If you listen, not with your ears, but with your sense of feeling, you'll notice something. The inside of the sun is not still at all. It vibrates, not because of wind or collisions, but like a gigantic musical instrument. Pressure waves move through its hot plasma, creating invisible songs. Humans call this helioseismology, the science of listening to the music inside the sun. But the sun is not singing for anyone. It simply resonates because it is alive. There is something strange that science is still trying to fully understand. The surface of the sun is actually much cooler than its corona, the outermost layer. In theory, the further out you go, the cooler it should become, yet the corona is hundreds of times hotter. A paradox, a mystery, a question the universe answers with its proud silence. And it is precisely this mystery that makes the sun feel closer to us. Even the star that sustains life has secrets it cannot easily explain. The sun also has its own cycles, a rhythm that lasts about 11 years. Within that rhythm, its magnetic field reverses. Sunspots appear and disappear. Solar storms rise and then calm again. Like a living body, it has stronger days and weaker days. There are days when the sun sneezes through solar flares. Those sneezes can disrupt GPS systems, interfere with radio signals, and yet, in those very moments, Earth's auroras glow more brightly, like green and purple ribbons being painted across the sky by an invisible hand. And now I'd like you to try something small. Gently place your attention on your heartbeat. You don't need to touch your chest, and you don't need to count. Just feel that pulse spreading softly through your body. Every heartbeat is also a tiny sun, a little sun inside you. It generates energy to nourish your entire body. It sends warmth through every blood vessel, keeps you alive second by second, minute by minute, quietly, just as the sun out there is quietly sustaining life for the whole system. It's strange, isn't it? In this vast universe, among endless planets and distant frozen worlds, there is one thing you share with a giant star. Both of you are radiating energy, slowly and steadily, to sustain the life around you. Imagine the sun far out in front of you, not glaring but softening into a warm golden sphere. Earth is drifting along its orbit, and you are drifting along with your own breath. These two motions align into one rhythm, the spreading rhythm of life. If you'd like, you can close your eyes and picture yourself sitting in the palm of the universe. On one side is the beat in your chest. On the other side is the heartbeat of a star millions of times larger than you. Both are silent, both are gentle, both are necessary for everything to continue. When you felt that connection, when your heart and the sun seem to share a common rhythm, we'll continue our journey to the rocky siblings, the small worlds with personalities so distinct, so human, and so fascinating. And when your heartbeat has blended into the warm breathing of the sun, when that connection has become as soft as a golden thread stretched between your chest and the infinite, our craft begins to change course. The gentle golden light stretches into a fading band, and in front of you, smaller, more familiar orbits begin to appear. It's as if, after listening to the heart of a family, we now want to get to know each of its children, each rocky planet with its own story, its own character, its own quiet. The sun stands there, shining silently, like an old father watching his children circle around him, each with a different manner, a different speed, a different destiny. And so we enter the family of rocky planets, where small worlds orbit close to the light, enduring many trials, yet holding a simple beauty the giant gas planets do not possess. The first world to appear is Mercury, small, gray, and so close to the sun that it looks as if it's whispering something directly into the light. Mercury doesn't really have an atmosphere, only a thin exosphere, ghost-like and faint, almost impossible to grasp. And yet, deep inside the permanently shadowed craters at its poles, where sunlight never reaches, patches of water ice quietly exist, like secrets kept for billions of years. Mercury's orbit is not perfect. It's a bit off, a bit strange. And that very oddness became the beautiful piece of evidence Einstein used to prove general relativity. A tiny planet with no voice, yet it helped reveal the structure of space-time. Mercury is like the quiet eldest brother, standing closest to the source of light, bearing the most, yet remaining humbly silent. Leaving Mercury, we arrive before Venus, the radiant but enigmatic older sister. Venus spins in the opposite direction, and so slowly that a single day there is longer than an entire year. Imagine waking up one morning and having to wait tens of thousands of hours before you see the sun set. Venus may once have been like Earth, but with no magnetic field, it had no shield to hold its atmosphere in balance, and so its thick layer of CO2 has baked the planet into an eternal furnace. Venus is beautiful, golden, smooth, and soft like a dream, but inside it is hotter than any other rocky world. With no moon to keep it company, Venus spins in solitude, like a dancer turning the wrong way on the cosmic stage. If Mercury is the quiet eldest brother, Venus is the older sister with a beautiful sadness, a past that may once have been blue, now silently burning. Mars appears next, red like a broken heart that has never stopped glowing. Mars has seasons, ice, CO2 frost, a thin atmosphere, and dust storms large enough to dim the sun for weeks. On its surface, Olympus Mons, a gigantic volcano nearly 3 times the height of Everest, stands like an ancient god. And then Valles Marineris stretches across the planet, a crack so vast an entire Earth continent could fit inside it. Mars is both lonely and patient, like a younger sibling who never stops turning toward hope. Many believe that beneath its soil, rivers and oceans may once have flowed. Mars is the planet of what might have been, of dreams lying quietly in the red dust. Then, as our craft moves outward from the warmth, we come to the smaller worlds, Pluto and the dwarf planets. Pluto is no longer an official planet, but that changes nothing about how special it is. Its orbit is long, stretched, and sometimes even dips inside Neptune's path, like a child who doesn't walk in a straight line. On its surface lies a heart-shaped ice plain, Sputnik Planitia, white, smooth, and still, like a frozen letter. Many believe there may be a deep, silent ocean beneath that ice. Pluto's atmosphere is thin, sometimes present, sometimes not, dissipating into space when it moves far from the sun and gathering again when it swings closer. Pluto is the sensitive younger sibling, opening up when it's near, closing off when it's far, delicate and easily affected. And then you notice something interesting. No matter how different they are, hot, cold, spinning backwards, dusty or frozen, all of them circle the same sun. Like a large family, where each child has a distinct personality, a unique wound, a unique beauty. Mercury is quiet, Venus is solitary, Mars is hopeful, Pluto is wistful. Each world holds an untold story. And as you float in the space between them, you feel that the universe is very much like humanity, full of diversity, soft secrets, and countless small hearts revolving around a shared center. When you glance back at the sun behind you, its light threads through the rocky planets like a golden string, tying these different souls together. And in that moment, you realize that there is still a much longer road ahead, stretching farther out toward the giant planets, toward blue, yellow, and violet dreams waiting in the distance. If you're ready, we'll step into the realm of the dreaming giants, where Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune spin within the gentle colors of the cosmos. All right, as the small rocky worlds slowly fade behind us as Pluto's fragile beauty dissolves into a distant speck of light, the craft seems to glide through a soft, warm breeze, signaling that we're about to enter a wider region, the domain of the great giants, turning quietly in their colorful dreams. You can imagine leaving a small, peaceful old quarter and drifting into a vast central square of the universe, a place where there is no longer the crisp sound of rocky dust beneath your feet, no more deep red cracks of Mars or suffocating heat of Venus. Instead, there are bands of gas swirling like silk, cloud systems as wide as continents, blending into soothing shades. The beauty here is no longer sharp or rigid. It's the beauty of enormous souls sleeping, breathing, dreaming. The first world to appear before you is Jupiter, the king of planets, though it carries no threatening presence. It looks like a sphere of brownish jade, glowing from the energy within. Jupiter is a failed little sun. It emits more energy than it receives from the sun, as if deep inside it still holds the remnants of a star that never fully ignited. Around Jupiter, more than 90 moons orbit, a miniature solar system quietly circling in the dark. Some are small, icy satellites, sparkling like frozen stones. Others, like Ganymede, Europa, and Callisto, are large, with hidden oceans, ice mountains, and silver-gray skies. Jupiter's magnetic field is so strong that without protection, even spacecraft could be shredded by radiation. But here, from a safe distance, we simply stand and watch, like visitors looking into a gigantic aquarium full of swirling patterns. And then you see the Great Red Spot, a storm so vast that a few Earths could fit inside it. It has been spinning for more than 300 years and is still turning, like a beautiful sorrow that never fades, or an ancient story Jupiter keeps retelling to the sky. Leaving Jupiter, our craft gently moves on to Saturn, a planet with a beauty that feels almost unreal. You will never forget the first moment you see Saturn's rings. Thin as paper, cold and bright, stretching hundreds of thousands of kilometers, yet so delicate it feels as though a breath could scatter them. These rings are made of ice and rock, shards from old moons and collisions, all orbiting in a silent symphony around the planet. But what's even more beautiful is their fragility. Those very rings are slowly raining down onto Saturn. Each year, tons of icy material fall into the atmosphere, which means that someday, tens of thousands of years from now, the rings may disappear. At Saturn's North Pole, you can see a strange hexagon, a unique atmospheric pattern found nowhere else in the solar system. It turns like an ancient symbol, like a cosmic seal. With a density lower than that of water, Saturn could theoretically float if there were an ocean large enough to hold it. A whimsical, beautiful idea, like a story whispered just before sleep. Going farther still, you reach Uranus, the strangest of the group. It is tilted almost 90 degrees, unlike any other world. Imagine a marble thrown hard, then rolling on its side through space for billions of years. Outside, it's a pale blue-green, as calm as sea foam, but inside, pressure is so great that carbon forms into diamonds. Many believe that somewhere in Uranus's depths, tiny diamonds are falling like a secret, glittering rain. A world sleeping sideways, spinning sideways, dreaming sideways. It sounds funny, yet somehow poetic. And then Neptune, the deepest blue, the most distant, like a dark ink stain on the black page of the universe. Neptune is so cold that sunlight becomes only a faint sigh by the time it reaches its upper atmosphere. And yet, strangely, its interior is still very hot. Its outer layers swirl with winds that silently exceed the speed of sound but never make a noise, like ribbons of blue silk twisting around one another in absolute quiet. Neptune is not angry, nor is it violent. It simply moves in silence, like a giant dreaming very deeply. And in the moment you drift past these four giant planets, you realize that no place is like any other. Jupiter is powerful. Saturn is delicate. Uranus leans in its strange tilt. Neptune is deep and quiet. Each planet is its own dream, and we are just travelers, gliding past clouds as large as continents, gazing at worlds tens of times bigger than Earth, yet still so gentle when seen from afar. You don't need to understand them all, don't need to memorize every name or feature. You only need to feel that you are passing through somewhere vast, ancient, and deeply peaceful. As this part of the journey comes to an end, you may sense a very subtle change in the space around you, like the faint sound of water echoing from beneath a layer of ice. And that is the invitation to step into the next chapter of our journey. The oceans, sleeping beneath frozen moons, where life may be quietly waiting to be found. As the gas giants slowly fade behind you, Saturn's radiant rings dim like streetlights as you leave a grand square and walk into a quieter alley, and you begin to notice something else drawing your gaze. Tiny points of light, modest, but somehow more refined, more secretive. They aren't as large as Jupiter, not as magnificent as Saturn, yet they hold something like a whispered call from beneath an icy surface. The craft slows down, as if even it understands that we are about to enter a completely different region of space, where, if life exists in the solar system, it may be murmuring softly, waiting to be discovered. You can imagine yourself descending from the high, glowing cloud decks of the giant planets into a long corridor, where the light softens, the noise fades away, and in front of you are frozen moons, each one like a heart beating very deep beneath a cold shell. These are worlds we cannot judge by their surfaces. The most beautiful part of them lies beneath, inside, in the darkness, in the warmth, where water may be moving. The first world to glide into view, like a thin spinning disk of ice, is Europa. From a distance, it is frosted white, with reddish-brown cracks running across its surface like veins on a cold skin. There are no towering mountains, no deep valleys, just a fairly smooth shell of ice. But beneath that ice lies an ocean. Salty, dark ocean, deeper than any ocean that has ever existed on Earth. Jupiter pulls on Europa with such strong gravity that the ice above is stretched and twisted, generating heat, and that churning keeps the ocean below in motion. Imagine a world where the sea has never seen the sky, yet never sleeps. A world where, even in endless darkness, water still stirs, like the slow, steady breathing of a very long dream. Traveling just a bit farther, you meet Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, even bigger than Mercury. Unlike Europa, Ganymede has its own magnetic field. As if deep within it, layers of metal are still moving, creating an invisible cloak around it. Many studies suggest that Ganymede may contain multiple oceans, layered between rock and ice, one atop another, like a strange book, where each page is a sheet of salty water lying still, waiting for someone to open it. Standing before Ganymede, you might feel as though you're looking at a gentle giant, not boastful, quietly holding a profound secret inside. A little farther still is Callisto, its surface pockmarked with craters, the oldest, most ancient face of all, like a visage deeply lined by time. But beneath that rough, dark ice, there may also be a quiet, salty ocean. Callisto is not as active as Europa, has no magnetic field like Ganymede, yet its silence makes you feel as though you are standing before a wise elder, someone who says little but understands deeply. Then, like a playful gesture in the dark, Enceladus appears, small, pure white, sparkling like an icy gem. At its south pole, you see plumes of water ice shooting up into space, rising hundreds of kilometers high, like upside-down hot springs. And within those jets, the Cassini spacecraft once found salt, organic molecules, signs of hydrothermal activity, ingredients of life. If Europa is like someone sleeping deeply, then Enceladus is like a child splashing water in its dreams, flinging streams of liquid into the black sky. Farther out is Titan, where vast rivers and lakes of liquid methane flow. Titan's sky is a hazy golden, thick like a mist from an old tale. There, methane rain falls, gathers into rivers and fills lakes. Yet beneath Titan's thick ice crust, scientists believe there is another salty ocean of water. Titan is the strangest of worlds, both freezing and vibrant. A place where life might be utterly different from anything humans have known, and yet very real. And at last, in a very distant region, like an inverted shadow in the night, there is Triton, Neptune's moon. Triton orbits in the opposite direction of its planet, like a solitary dancer moving out of step, yet still strangely beautiful. On its surface, plumes of nitrogen rise, ice volcanoes quietly venting cold gas into space, creating faint, drifting trails in the wind. Triton is not loud, not dramatic, but it holds the beauty of absolute wilderness. A beauty reserved for those willing to journey very far, very deep into the dark. As you silently watch these worlds, you begin to see something. Every ocean is like the human mind. On the outside, it may be cold, rigid, full of cracks or scars, but within, there is always a softer layer of water, a warm region where one's own life is still flowing. These oceans do not boast. They keep their life, or at least the potential for life, hidden in silence. And you, no matter how many tiring days you've endured, how many long nights filled with thoughts you've carried, are just like Europa, Ganymede, Titan, Enceladus. On the outside, you may have grown colder from life's hardships, but deep within, there is still a soft layer of water, a warm region where your own life is quietly moving. All you need to do is allow yourself to grow still, and you will hear it. If you're ready, we'll drift on, light as a breath, toward the rocky, icy borderlands of the solar system. Out there, even the smallest fragments of ice and stone carry great stories. Slowly now. The universe is not in a hurry, and you don't need to be either. Everything's rhythm is already in tune with your heartbeat. You only need to keep drifting. And as the craft quietly glides away from those slumbering oceans, you may feel as if a faint chill passes by, even though there is no air out there. It's like stepping from a warm room into an empty hallway, where sounds echo more softly, and time seems to move just a little slower. The icy moons with their tender, liquid hearts slowly recede behind you, and ahead lies a wider, rougher expanse, yet one that is just as full of stories. Stories that do not belong to oceans or atmospheres, but to rock, ice, collisions, and the patience of billions of years. The craft slows a little more, so gently you hardly notice it. But you can clearly feel that you are entering a belt region, the layered rings of the solar system that people often imagine as dense, chaotic, and dangerous. Yet, when you look closely, you find that the space between asteroids is immensely wide. The rocks float hundreds, even thousands of kilometers apart, like lonely islands scattered across a black ocean. There you meet Ceres and Vesta, two protoplanets that never quite grew up into full planets. They are like children forever frozen in an in-between age, with cores, mantles, and surfaces, but never developing further. Ceres may hold ice beneath its surface, while Vesta bears the scars of enormous impacts, craters as deep as if carved by a sharp knife. Small as they are, they still orbit the sun with unwavering persistence, like beings who accepted their fate a very long time ago. A little farther on, you see rubble pile asteroids, not solid blocks of stone, but loose collections of rocks gently held together by weak gravity. One hard impact would be enough to break them apart, yet they persist, continue spinning, carrying the memory of millions of collisions. You can imagine them as piles of pebbles gathered by the universe, not truly stable, yet still enough to become their own little worlds. And then, Now and then, you come across binary systems. Two asteroids orbiting each other, like two tiny friends holding hands in the endless void. They circle around one another, round after round, without rest, as if they're telling each other the story of their endless journey. As the craft travels farther still, sunlight thins to a faint mist. This is the Kualpakupa, a vast icy region at the edge of the solar system, home to dwarf planets and countless objects that gleam like mirrors under the distant sun. You see rough, icy surfaces reflecting pale light, like the gaze of someone drifting into sleep. The objects here are slow, orderly, and so quiet that you feel as if time itself is being compressed. Beyond the Kuiper belt, almost merging with absolute darkness, lies the Oort cloud, a great icy shell surrounding the solar system, extending nearly a light year away. No one has seen it directly, but everything suggests that it is there, like a giant fur coat wrapping around our system. From that freezing realm, the long-period comets are born. Thousands, millions of years later, they plunge toward the heart of the solar system, glowing with long, luminous tails. The interesting thing is that a comet's tail doesn't trail behind its path. It always points away from the sun, blown back by light and solar wind. A small truth that makes you smile because it reminds you that even the things we feel sure about can be wrong. And then, at the farthest point the solar wind can reach, you touch the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's wind thins, weakens, and is swallowed by the interstellar medium. The solar system is cradled inside a gigantic bubble, the heliosphere. And beyond that, we step into the cold, interstellar ocean of the galaxy. But tonight, you won't go that far. It's enough to stop at the edge, looking out over the infinite darkness, the way you might stand at the shore, gazing out over the night sea. Now gently close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. Imagine the entire solar system, from the cloud-wrapped giant planets to the hidden oceans under ice to the tiny drifting stones, all of it shrinking down into a single, lonely point of light floating in the cosmic sea. And you are lying in a tiny corner of that light, so small that you might feel yourself dissolving into space, and yet so safe that everything around you feels like it is holding you. At this border, there is no sound, no pressure to remember, to think, to hold on to anything. There is only the gentle drifting of the solar system, of you, and of the tiny points of light moving through the dark. If you're ready, we'll turn our gaze outward, to the very edge, where the small footsteps of humanity are drifting slowly through space. But there's no rush. Let yourself drift one more breath with these icy rings. You are now as far as a peaceful night's dream can possibly carry you. As you're still floating at the rim of the solar system, where icy rocks glide by like silver dust in space, something quietly dawns on you. Even though this frontier feels so empty that it seems life has never left a trace here, in truth, a few small visitors have already passed through before you, and they have gone farther still, so far that even the sun itself has become nothing more than a faint yellow lantern behind them. Their presence is so subtle that, if you don't listen carefully, you would never notice it. Delicate signals stretching across billions of kilometers, taking more than 20 hours just to reach Earth. And that is the moment of transition between the frozen stillness you've just traveled through and the very first footprints of humanity in interstellar space. Slowly, softly as a breath, your imaginary craft turns back, your eyes looking toward the farthest place human beings have ever touched. Out there, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are quietly drifting, like two tiny fragments of memory that humanity has entrusted to the darkness of the cosmos. More than 40 years ago, they were launched like two faint whispers, with no one knowing how far they would go or how long they would last. And yet today, they have passed beyond the heliopause, the boundary where the solar wind is no longer strong enough to hold them, and stepped into interstellar space. The signal from Voyager is as thin as a strand of silk, so faint that compared to sunlight it's like a light knock on a door in the middle of a stormy night. And yet Earth still hears it and keeps listening. Each Voyager carries a golden record. On it are the laughter of children, the sound of rain, the crashing of ocean waves, greetings in many languages, and music from Beethoven to ancient folk songs. It is like humanity tossing a glass bottle into the cosmic ocean, not expecting a reply, only hoping that if someone or something ever finds it, they will know that Earth once existed and once knew how to love. Farther inward, yet still a marvel, is the Parker Solar Probe, the tiny spacecraft that dared to plunge into the outer layers of the sun, where temperatures are high enough to melt any metal. Parker is not like Voyager. It doesn't carry greetings or messages for anyone. It has only one task: to touch the solar wind, to measure the breath of the star that has nurtured life on Earth. It is the fastest spacecraft humanity has ever built. And when you think of it, you realize that some human dreams are brilliant, just like the sun itself, burning brightly in order to find the truth. Turning back toward Earth for a moment, you see Hubble, the telescope hanging in orbit, calm as an artist suspended in the sky, capturing the most beautiful scenes of the universe. Hubble has seen storms on Jupiter, auroras on Saturn, dust storms on Mars, and even galaxies tens of billions of light years away. Hubble is like the long, enduring eyes of humanity, always open, always watching, always telling stories in light. As you look at all these messengers, you realize that humans are tiny indeed, yet possess a strangely gentle persistence. We send fragile machines into the darkness, not to conquer, not to invade, but simply to understand more. We are small creatures on a small blue planet, yet we can touch the outer breadth of the sun and cross the edge of the solar system without disturbing a single star. Your craft begins to shrink its focus just a little, as if inviting you to look even farther out, not only at humanity's spacecraft, but at the solar system itself, this vast system drifting through the Milky Way. The solar system is not standing still. It is gliding through the local interstellar cloud, a region of thin gas and faint dust, the legacy of ancient supernova explosions. This entire system, from the Sun to Neptune, from Ceres to the Oort cloud, from you to the very bed you're lying on, all of it is moving along a path that no one can truly sense within a single lifetime. One orbit around the center of the Milky Way takes more than 200 million years, a galactic year, which means that since the time dinosaurs walked the Earth, our solar system has not yet completed one full circle around the galaxy. You and I are living in a moment so small that no cosmic ruler could really measure it. And somehow, that makes everything feel gentler. Nothing is urgent. There is no race we must win, because all of us, from Voyager to the dust in the Oort cloud, are drifting slowly in a dance no one can hurry. So as you lie here tonight, you're not just lying on a bed. You are lying on the Earth. The Earth lies within the solar system lies within the Milky Way, and the Milky Way lies within a universe that is expanding every second. You are not lost. You are being held. The universe never stops moving, but it never abandons anything or anyone. If you're ready, we'll take our final journey, seeing the solar system within an even larger picture, then gently closing this night with a last lullaby. Slowly now, you are drifting at the universe's own pace. And then, as you continue to drift with the solar system across the vast sea of stars, something very small begins to happen. The space around you grows softer, darker, like the sky before a light rain. The imaginary craft you're riding on slows just one more notch, as if it knows this journey has reached its final stretch. Not an ending, but a kind pause in the middle of a turning cosmos. You look into the distance, where Voyager still sends its faint whispers, then back toward what's closer, the Earth following its orbit, the sun breathing out streams of golden light, and you realize all these movements, whether far or near, are holding you in their own quiet way. You've traveled from the farthest reaches where deep blue Neptune spins in supersonic winds so strong that no sound can ever form. You've watched diamond rain fall in Uranus's darkness, seen by no one, heard by no one, shining quietly like thoughts never spoken aloud. You've walked along the great fissures of Mars, listening to the story of a violent past now sleeping beneath red dust. You've felt the suffocating heat of Venus, a world that might once have resembled Earth, but ended as a silent furnace. Then you came home, to Earth, the softest place in the whole journey. Water flows in 3 states. The magnetic field wraps the planet in an invisible blanket, and the moon raises and lowers the tides like the steady breathing of a sleeping giant. Every process happening on this blue world, from plate tectonics to the turning of the seasons, nurtures the life you carry in every cell. You've seen the sun not as a blinding dot in the sky, but as a golden heart that breathes, slowly consuming itself to keep you alive. You've passed by the gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, each one a vivid dream in color, vast but gentle when gazed at from afar. You've heard the breath of hidden oceans beneath the ice of Europa, Enceladus, Titan, places that may cradle the universe's next chapter of life. You've drifted past rings of ice and rock where asteroids float like old memories. And you've touched the edge of the solar system, where only tiny probes carrying humanity's greetings fly into the dark. And then you turned back toward yourself. You realized that the atoms making up your body, the oxygen you breathe, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, were all forged in the bellies of ancient stars. Which means you don't just look up at the universe, you are literally made from it, in the truest, deepest sense. You don't need to remember every detail. You don't need to hold on to every image. The universe will still be here, spinning, drifting, glowing, and quieting, whether you're awake or asleep, thinking or letting go. As the storyteller slowly folds each piece of the journey together, you may feel as though someone is pulling a soft blanket over you. Each image, Neptune, Titan, Jupiter, Earth, becomes a gentle fold settling over you, warming your body, lightening its weight. Now, you don't have to remember anything at all. The solar system will keep turning, the sun will still rise tomorrow morning, the planets will continue along their own paths, and the only thing left for you to do is to allow yourself to rest. You're invited to take a slow inhale, as if gathering all the soft light of the night into your chest. Then exhale very gently, letting every tension drift away, fading into space, like a tiny ship, dimming its lights. There's nothing left to do, nowhere you need to go. You only need to lie here and let your awareness drift and drift and drift. And as the background music stretches out soft and long, like waves washing up on the shore of some distant planet, you feel your eyelids grow heavier, your mind growing dimmer. The universe keeps turning, and you are allowed to sleep. The
you